Thank you very much for that warm introduction. Thank you, Brother Krish, and others of the Sai Centre of Canberra in Australia for inviting me and giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak about the life and teachings of our beloved Sadguru and Bhagavan, Sri Satya Sai Baba. So before I begin, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for trusting in me and allowing your precious time for this satsang. So a loving Sairam to each and every one of you. May Swami guide us in this session. May Swami guide us in our thoughts, words, and deeds, not only at this moment, but every moment of our lives. When it comes to talking about our beloved Swami, there is always a starting problem, if you will. Because where does one start? Especially when one's life is filled with his teachings and his love and his grace. It seems almost impossible to put a finger and say, let me start with this. But nevertheless, I do have some thoughts planned. And so, allow me to share my perspectives on this very momentous occasion. I call this momentous because this time of the year is the kind of time which I can speak for myself, and I think most of you will agree, is a time that takes us into deep introspection. A time where, for those of us who have experienced him in a physical sense, in the sense of having lived with him or spoken to him or seen him, had his darshan in Prashantinilayam. For those of us who have been exposed to him, if you will, who can say had close encounters with this divine being that you and I endearingly call Swami, there are so much memories that come back to life. And it's not possible to just wipe them away that you could wipe a blackboard, if you will. It's not. Because these are memories that shaped our lives, that shaped our thoughts, that shaped our words, our actions, our emotions, our feelings. These are poignant moments where we contemplate on the life and teachings, because this was the time he left us. And so rather than use this time to tell you about my experiences, as we call it, experiences with Sai, Swami gave me a watch, or Swami performed my wedding, or I had this interview with Swami, I saw his room and this and that. Allow me to focus on his teachings and how I have learned to apply his teachings that have enriched my life. And I hope in the process of this talk, I'm able to share with you something very profound. Simple and yet profound. Because the simplest things are the most profound. Things that we take for granted are the most divine things, like a sunrise, or a sunset, or a moonrise. They are the most beautiful things on this planet. And yet we take them for granted. We rarely see them, right? And so it is with some of the teachings of Bhagavan Baba. It was September 6th, 1992. My wedding time, and Swami materialized a wristwatch for me. But that's not part of the story. Like I said, I'm not going to focus on those kind of things because there's nothing for you to take home from that. But the words that followed were very, very, very important. and it stays with me even to this day. He said, "This is my watch I am giving you. Be careful," he said. "Time is God, God is time. Don't waste time." And he put the wristwatch on my wrist. Very beautiful moment. That was perhaps the last time he ever spoke to me. I stayed 2 more years, but after the wedding, and that was it. But there was, of course, so many other experiences, a very deep spiritual connection and so on, that blossomed a millionfold, if you will, in those 2 years before I finally bid goodbye to the ashram, not to Swami. I can never bid goodbye to Swami. He is always there forever, enshrined in my heart. I want to draw your attention back to what he said, "This is my watch." Watch is a word Baba has used many times. Many of you who have been his devotees for long, who has been exposed to his teachings, many of the children who have studied through SSC would perhaps know the acronym of the watch. So allow me to share how I think it's so important for us when we spend this time in introspection. How do we understand what does Swami mean by this term watch? And why do we have to do this again? Because we claim we are devotees of an avatar. We don't feel shy talking about that, right? We claim Sai is an avatar. He is the Kali Yuga avatar. He is God who walked on earth. He has this powers and that powers, and he's cured people, and he's appeared in many places. And look at this, Vibhuti is appearing here, honey is appearing, and we celebrate his divinity. But in that celebration, do we see a reflection of that divinity in us? Do we see that divinity, that celebration, that magnanimity, that cosmic personality that we ascribe to Sai? Do we see that as a reflection of our own divinity? Or at the end of all the celebration and adoration and worship and singing of bhajans, are you going home thinking of yourself as a little puny little being, just being on this earth? Somehow a victim of circumstances, thinking there is a God above, there is a Swami somewhere who will take care of you. That feeling is not devotion. That feeling is not humility. That feeling is a sense of victimization. Somehow we are victims of circumstances. We are somehow victims of the 9 planets that govern our thoughts, words, and deeds, which is true, but we are not victims. None of Swami's teachings have taught us that. Devotion to Sai does not mean that you are somehow an insignificant being. Devotion to Sai means you are a reflection of Sai. Your words are a resound of Sai's teachings. Your actions are a reflection of his life, his message. And your very presence is a reflection of his divine being. So have we as Sai devotees come to that stage? Can we be those role models to, not the world necessarily? Not everybody has to have a camera in front and speak to large audiences, no, but to our children. Am I a role model to my child? Am I a role model to my spouse? Am I a role model to myself? Am I a role model to my community, to my little family? What is the legacy that I as a devotee of Sai is going to leave behind? Ask yourself that question. I ask that question every day to myself. And so it is in that context rather, we should not miss any opportunity, any chance to do deeper dive into ourselves, introspect every part of ourselves, and remove all the debris that holds us back from revealing our own inner divinity, and thus allowing us to live life fully. If there are children and youngsters listening to this, please understand that spirituality and spiritual values, such as those that I will outline now, briefly at least, are not meant to make you a misfit in this world. Don't say, how can I practice spiritual values in this competitive world? When you practice this, you will be a leader, leading the world in the way you want to live. You don't have to live the way the world is going. That is a victim mindset. To say everybody is doing this, how can I alone be different? Be different, be bold, be brave. That is the life and teaching of Sai. So how do we start from there? Watch. W.A.T.C.H. What I have learned over the years since that moment that Swami told me about watch is, when you look at this acronym, what is the first letter that appeals to you? It could be any one of them, right? W-A-T-C-H. And I'll share you the way I look at it. Okay, it's just my perspective. There's no right and wrong in any of these. I look at the center, and the word T attracts me. Why? Because when you look at a group picture, let's say, you have a VIP in your home, right? Your uncle or your grandparents, somebody has come home to visit you. You say, let's take a family picture. And you all group together. And in order to honor the guest, where do you place the guest in that picture? Would you place the guest in the center of the picture, if it's a family picture? Or would you place that guest to one side? If it's a baby's birthday, everybody crowds around the baby and wants to take a picture. Where will that baby be? In the center, correct? That's our normal experience. There could be exceptions, of course. And so, in the ancient teachings, there is this hidden code in mantras or in quotes, in all of this. There is a hidden code. Pay attention to what is in the center. That is called the body language of a word, of a sentence. Right? And therefore, coming from that background, when I look at it, I look at the center, the word T. Now, before we go into that, what does this acronym mean for those of you who don't know? W stands for words. A stands for actions. T stands for thoughts. C stands for character. H stands for heart. Baba would often say, watch your words, watch your actions, watch your thoughts, watch your character, watch your heart. So when you take thoughts as the centerpiece, you will notice there are two directions, therefore, that you could go. You could go left and it leads you to words and actions. You could go right, it leads to character and your heart. Thoughts are in the center. Words and actions are how you project yourself to the world, how the world sees you. It is an outgoing energy. So thoughts, on the one side, energize, let's say, energize your words and your actions, which are projected out. The world sees you through your words, through your actions, right? They don't know what's going on inside with your thoughts, but they see your words and they see your actions. You project yourself, like in a job interview, right? You project yourself out through words, through your actions. You want to impress someone, you're very careful of what you speak, how you behave. So that is an outward energy. Thoughts also energize the other direction, the inward energy. So one is going out, one is going in. What is in? This, the world doesn't see that. Only you know. Heart, character. What is the basis of your character? What is the basis of your heart? What is it that energizes your character and your heart? Think of it. Thoughts. Thoughts. So the centerpiece here, to me, if you ask me to start thinking, would be thoughts. Watch your thoughts. Watch your thoughts. Now, I am the last person on earth to tell you what kind of thoughts you should have. I have no rights and I'm not interested. I'm not the one who can preach you that these are good thoughts, these are bad thoughts. That's what makes it dogmatic. That's what makes it a religion. That's what makes it completely, like if it's right for me, it doesn't mean a thought is right for you. What does that mean? If I love trekking in the Himalayas, let us say, at 15,000 feet. I think of that and it energizes me. I can't tell you, you should also think of that. That could be scary for some of you who may not be in that physical position or age, or not. It may not be your interest. So how can I tell you this is what you should think? When you're stressed, think of trekking in the Himalayas. You'll be, some of you might get even more stressed, right? So no, I'm not here to tell you what kind of thoughts you should have or not. But what I want to share with you is examine the quality of your thoughts. And I call that the self-talk. Self-talk. What are thoughts? Self-talk. What you talk to yourself is your thought, right? Think of it. I need to do this today. I need to do that tomorrow. Oh gosh, I've got to finish my shopping today. I have to make this list today. Oh, this is so stressful. Oh, that's so lovely. I have to watch this movie. I have to plan this for the weekend. I have to make these calls. I have to get the kids ready for school. I have to this and I have to do this work. All of these, what are they? They are thoughts. They are you talking to yourself. Correct? And so what I want you to introspect as you spend every day, in general, become aware of the quality of your self-talk. In other words, thoughts. Not by judging it as good or bad. There is really no such thing as good or bad. This is our make-believe. So I'm going to leave that outside the discussion. What is the quality? All I'm asking you is to ask yourself, what is the quality of my thought? When I am alone, are my thoughts caught up in the events that needs to be done or the events that has taken place? Most of these, when we say quality of self-talk, quality of our thoughts, we are talking of aloneness. When I am alone, I could be even with 10 people, but inside me, I am alone, right? So think of that. So the quality of your self-talk, what is the quality? Are you focused most of the time? And I'm simply asking you to introspect here. Are you focused on events? Events that must take place, events that have happened. Are you caught up in that most of the time? It is important because these kind of this quality of your self-talk is what is going to influence our words and actions that go out, correct? That's why we need to examine the quality of our self-talk. Because we talk of having self-confidence and I want my children to be self-confident, I want to be self-confident and all of that. You can't just dress up well and think self-confidence is going to fall upon you. That's a silly little crutch that somehow is taught to us in some of these classes in self-confidence. Yeah, they help a little bit. That's why I call it a crutch. But that's a silly little crutch. It really doesn't build your self-confidence. When you examine and take charge of the quality of your self-talk, that's when you begin to sow seeds of confidence in yourself, because you come face to face with who you think you are. Who you think you are. So, are your thoughts caught up in events of the day, or are your thoughts caught up in people? People. George Bernard Shaw said this quote, and we use this quote in one of the dramas that we played in front of Swami. Great minds discuss ideas. Normal minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Small minds discuss people. So, am I caught up when I'm alone? How much time do I spend on people? And more so, how much time do I spend on judging people? Good, bad. Oh, he did this to me, she did this to me. How dare they speak to me like this? Right? Or you take up a politician and say, why did he do this? Why did she do that, this, that? Are you thinking of people all the time? If not, how much time do you spend thinking of people? Because whenever I think of something, and I want you youngsters, again, children, and I guess everyone to be aware of one beautiful truth. Swami said, the thought on its own has no form. Think about it. Thought has no form. Mind has no form, right? If it had a form, it would have had a place in the body. Where is the mind in your body? There is no place. That's why in yoga we understand it as chakras and the spine as an energy. It's an energy that flows up and down, right? It's a process. Mind is a process. Thought is a process. It doesn't have a form. So when you think of something or somebody, the mind becomes that person, that event. You might say, no, wait, I'm thinking of an event that happened 2 days ago. But the mind becomes that event at this moment, so that event becomes the present. When I'm thinking of a person, the mind becomes that person, and that person becomes alive in my consciousness. So if I'm thinking bad about a person, in other words, I'm angry with him, right? I'm saying, how dare she? I don't want her to progress. I want Swami to teach her a lesson, or I want this to happen to her, or that to happen to her. When I'm exhibiting anger against a person, that person is nowhere really listening to it, or even have a faintest idea that you're thinking, right? It's all happening in here. So that person becomes alive in our consciousness, and therefore we are building that very angry reality. That angry person becomes who? Becomes you. You become that person because you're constantly harboring thoughts about that person. Ravana, in the story of Ramayana, is considered a great soul in spite of being a villain. You know why? Because even though he was a demon king, he was obsessed with Rama. Rama will do this, Rama will do that, Rama, how dare he is so good, how can Rama be so good, how can he be so powerful, how he became Rama, and therefore he incurred Rama's grace when Rama took his life. That is the quality of thoughts, that is the power of thoughts. So you need to be aware of the quality of your self-talk. Or the third thing is, when you're alone, are you thinking of ideas? Are you thinking of ideas? In other words, you take up a teaching like this. Watch. When you're alone, let's say, okay, I'm going to now spend this next 2 or 3 days trying to analyze for my own self. How do I make sense of words, actions, thoughts, character, heart? So when I'm alone, I start thinking, contemplating on what that teaching means to me. Or a quote like, help ever, hurt never. What does that mean to me? So now where is your mind? Your mind is engaged in thoughts, in a creative field. Painting, art, music, bhajan singing, any singing for that matter. All of this is creativity. Creativity. Do you spend time in being creative? So you and I, we need to examine the quality of our self-talk. Am I caught up in self-judgment? Oh, I don't know what to do. I am so confused. I am so sorry. I feel so guilty. Am I caught up in that? Because then those are going to find reflection in words. Those are the words your children hear. Those are the words your spouse hears. Those are the words your team members hear if you're in corporation. It's not word by word. I mean, there is a body language to the words, right? Those are the words that an audience hears when you stand in front of them. In other words, your thoughts begin to reflect in your words. I do remember Swami playfully mentioning once, you speak to me for 2 minutes, I will know your entire character based on how you speak, what words you choose to speak, your volume, your tone, your body language, everything displays who you are. And so our words reflect our thoughts to the world outside, to ourselves. And why is that so important? Because words create our reality. We create our reality through our words. We may not be aware of thoughts very much, correct? They're very subtle. They come and go so fast, and so many of them. So it's very difficult to introspect. But words are spoken. Sometimes we speak mindlessly. I know many people who are addicted to just speaking. They feel compelled to be leading a conversation. They don't have to. They feel compelled. They feel they have to speak. And almost mindlessly, thoughtlessly, words just keep flowing. You have to watch out for that. You have to be very mindful of what words come out of your mouth, because those are sound vibrations, and from sound comes creation. From Akasha comes creation. Akasha is your inner space. And constantly, if you are filling it with words, and if those words are not words that build you, if those are words that break you, then that is what reality is. So if you want to examine the quality of your words, a very simple thing, look around you. Look around you. Look at the reality around you. Who's created that reality? You. With the quality of your self-talk, with the words. And therefore, when I say, I'm waiting, I don't know what to do, Swami will help me, Swami, please guide me, I don't know what to do, that I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, please help me, creates that reality of you being a victim, somehow waiting for some God, some avatar to relieve you. And even though they come in right in front of you, all that you will continue to say, because you have trained yourself and you have created the reality, you will continue to say, please help me, I don't know what to do. And so we need to really, really watch out for what kind of words we speak. And that is why Swami gave us Namasmarana, the key to this. If nothing, chant the name of God, because when you're chanting there, the thoughts go to Him. When I think of Rama, I forget myself. I'm thinking of Rama. I mean, how powerful Rama is. He gave up his entire kingdom just to follow a few values. I mean, like, wow. Who is this person? How can people do such things like that today? How can I try to live like that, right? So the mind begins to become Rama. Why? Because the words are chanting Rama, 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 Rama. Same way, Sairam, Sairam, Sairam. Mindfully say Sairam. Don't say Sairam when you're sorry, because then that means you're sorry, not Sairam. Don't say Sairam for thank you. I mean, you can, but I'm just saying, then you're using thank you. Just say thank you when it's meant to be say thank you. Say hello when you have to say hello, say hello. But when you say Sai Ram, use that word mindfully, because the mind lifts to Sai and Ram. And then Sai becomes reality. Words have to be very mindfully spoken. We create reality through our words. When two spouses live together for 20, 30 years, and they start speaking about each other, you almost feel that they have put each other in a frame. Oh, he is like this. He will like this only. He will not like anything else. Oh, she's like this. I don't know what she will do this and this and that. And therefore, you have framed each other and you constantly repeat that. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so therefore, people don't get out of that frame. We create our reality. We create our families. We create our homes through the quality of our words, which comes from the quality of our self-talk. And therefore, as Sai devotees, let us spend more time in Namasmarana. That would be a good suggestion. Let us spend time contemplating on his teachings. Over the dinner table, you can just say, all right, what do we discuss today? What quote of Baba can we discuss today? Then bring that as a discussion over your dinner table. So then words are now focused on creative pursuits, creative ideas. Rather than what did you do today? Why didn't you do your homework? What about tomorrow? What's your future? And then that is also perhaps that there's a time and space, I guess, for everything. But so examine the quality of words. Then comes actions. Watch your actions. Because those words eventually will lead you to actions, thoughts, words, and actions. We constantly say this, right? Manas, vachas, karma. Manas is mind, thoughts. Vachas is words. And karma is action. Watch your action. A very simple lesson that I have learned from Swami's life is selflessness. How many of my actions are for others? A very simple way to introspect. Because selflessness is the greatest self-empowerment tool. It's an irony of sorts. It's a paradox, but a beautiful and powerful paradox. And if you understand the secret behind this, and I'm giving you thoughts to contemplate, right? Like I said, I don't want to preach it to you or spell it out for you, but selflessness is the greatest tool for self-empowerment. Let go of yourself, and yourself will get empowered, because there is nothing to limit when you let go. The universe takes over your little self and comes with full grace. That is what we understand by saying let go and let God. Leave everything to Swami. What do we mean by all that? We take your little self and offer it to the divine. Say, I get me out of the way and let the divine take over. In other words, you become selfless. Sunder has to get out of the way for Sai to take over. Sunder can't keep saying, Swami help me, Swami help me, Swami help me, and stand in the way of Swami helping. Sunder has to get out of the way. In other words, Sunder says, I will bow at your feet. I will do my efforts, but I leave the result at your feet. You take over. And then Sai comes and takes over and helps with the proper effort, proper guidance, proper directions, and life becomes a beautiful journey of learning and growing and expanding. Swami's life teaches us this power. Swami had nothing in his life, nothing that you and I can say, aha, that's why he succeeded. He had great education. That's why he did what he did. No, he didn't, right? We all know. There was a poor little school in a remotest village, and he dropped out of that school as well. So he had no education. Was he rich? Because we could say, aha, he was very rich. That's why he did. No, he wasn't. He was a son of a simple villager. Was he born in a very advanced country? Because then you and I can say, aha, he was born there. That's why. No, he wasn't, right? And yet, a decade after his passing away, millions of miles away, millions of hours after his passing away, millions of devotees across the globe use this time, and perhaps every time of the day, to think about him. What gave him that self-empowerment? Selflessness. He never thought about himself. He never worked for himself. What people think of me didn't bother him. What would people say if I do this? That didn't bother him. Think how many of our actions before we do, we say, what do people think of me? We dress to please somebody else. We sit to please somebody else. We walk to please somebody else. Look at all our social media postings, right? It's all to please somebody else. We project an image. Oh, otherwise, what will people think? How many of us spend time, we post a picture and then look for comments. Oh, what did they say about my picture? Selflessness is what can I do to help others? Then your mind begins to expand. Like I said, mind has no form, thoughts has no form. So it begins to expand and embrace a larger consciousness. Your consciousness expands. It embraces not just your family because they belong to you. Yes, you can work for your spouse, you can work for your parents, you can work for your children. All that is good to some extent. But why am I saying some extent? Because you work, because they belong to you. So the self is still there. What can I do for somebody whom I don't know at all? Can I give some of my time? Can I give some of my resources? Can I give something to help somebody else? With no expectation in return. My dear fellow devotees, fellow pilgrims on this beautiful journey towards Sai, let us understand that this journey can be completed and will always remain incomplete if we only think about ourselves. It even comes to the final prayer. Even if some of you say, no, I'm only interested in God realization. If you say, I need God realization, I need self-realization, it was not going to happen. Get the I out of the way. Get the little self out of the way. Not all the time, at least some of the time. Then you will truly understand how empowered life can be. How you incur the grace of the divine. Think on these lines. Ask yourself, in a given day, any given day, which of my thoughts or which of my actions are for others? For somebody else's benefit. For somebody else's benefit. What action have I contributed today that has truly enriched somebody's life? Even if it's a small little help. In what way have I helped someone else? Ask yourself this question. And if you can bring in an act every day, as a family, as an individual, something for somebody else, watch the magic of divine grace flooding your home, flooding your consciousness. Swami is alive, my dear brothers and sisters. He is very much alive in your home, in your altar, in your heart. But how do you experience him? People ask me this question all the time. This is the way. Follow his path. And his path is simple, not dogmatic, not religion. It's not about should I be a member of organization A, organization B, and divide and get into all those petty little thought processes. Get out of all of that. Think of how can I be selfless? How can I take one step towards selflessness? He will take 1,000 steps towards you. Do this and watch the miracle of Sai unfold. It is inexplicable when Sai becomes alive in your consciousness. When Sai becomes alive in your home, in your heart, in your family, you will feel guided every day. So, thoughts, when you examine the quality of your thoughts, and in your own way, you try and improve the quality of your thoughts. Because some thoughts you will know when you become aware, some thoughts are limiting, some thoughts are binding. You free yourself from that. They will begin to reflect in your words and in your actions. Thoughts are very important. I spend the whole time thinking about myself. My action then cannot be for others. It cannot be. It will at the most be a project like we do. Okay, I want to do a project of seva. It becomes a project to starting and ending and building a report and sending it. Oh, we did selfless projects. We send it. It's already defeated itself. Stop being selfless because you made it into a project. It doesn't work like that. Those projects are important, but they just to get you on that road, right? But then you have to truly understand the quality of your self-talk determines your actions, whether they are selfless or selfish. You don't have to be all the time in a selfless action. But if you can incorporate a few acts of selflessness every day, you will really open the door to divine wonders in your life. So then we come back to thoughts in the center, right? So thoughts helped us with our words and actions. Thoughts also help us going within. Let's examine that briefly. And bear with me if I'm crossing the time but this is so important. I feel so guided sharing this. And I hope you are with me as I share these thoughts. Now, when you go inside, quality of your self-talk, in other words, your thoughts and all of that, help you with your words and actions. When we come back to thoughts, there's something else. Quality of your core belief system, your core values. Only you know that. What are your core beliefs? Why am I saying this? Is because Swami gave us divine mantras like I am God, I am God, I am not different from God. He said, start saying this, correct? And many of us perhaps say it. But then if the core belief is I am not that, I am Sundar, waiting for God realization. If my core belief is I am Sundar, then any amount of saying I am God is not going to be effective. Core belief is very, very, very important. So you have to examine what is it that drives me? Where does my true personality come from? What is the quality of my core belief system? In my core, in my aloneness, in my meditation, do I see myself as a God? Do I see myself as a reflection of Sai? Or do I see myself as a poor little devotee not knowing what to do in life? How can we have Sai as our guru and not know what to do in life? How can we have Sai in our lives to light our path and say, I'm confused, I'm helpless? How can that be possible? The reason why we end up in such situations is because we haven't taken time to examine the quality of the core beliefs that drive you in the spiritual path. We need to examine and modify those core beliefs. If those core beliefs begin to limit us, just like thoughts limit us, core beliefs also limit us. They manifest in the form of thoughts. You know it. That core belief needs to be examined. Then that leads you to your character and your heart. What is character? Swami asked us once. We said, be good, do good, see good. And we tried so much. But Swami, very beautifully, he said, there's only one thing. Integrity. Integrity is character. Who you are, what is good, what is bad, don't get caught in that. Very simple, based on Swami's teachings. I think something, in other words, my core belief and my thoughts, self-talk. My words reflect what I think. That means I'm very honest in what I think here. I'm not window dressing or telling lies or projecting something which is very, very different from what's in here. And my actions reflect my words. My thoughts, my word, and my deed are integrated. Constant integrated awareness. That is character. I don't have to be rude because I believe something I just say. I don't have to be rude. But I don't have to be dishonest either. I can be firm. I can be polite. And I can be truthful. Because I am being truthful to what I believe. I believe. That is very important for us as youngsters, as children, as grown-ups, as adults, as one who is a potential leader for the future. Whether you're a leader of the family or you want to be the leader of the world, it doesn't matter. Or leader of your own body and mind. You are the leader, right? But why does that leadership doesn't show? Because we lack integrity. In the name of Sai, we tell lies because it's convenient to tell lies. Oh, no, they won't understand all this. Just say like this, it's easy. We have choice, right? Like in Harry Potter, his teacher tells him, life is not always about doing things that are easy. It's about doing things that are right. doing things that are right. So integrity is character. Look at yourself in the mirror and you will know, are you an integral person or not? And we don't have to be perfect. I am not perfect. But I use that as my goal. I will not do things which I don't believe in. Why do I have to do it to please somebody else? My friends tell me this, oh, it's peer pressure, we say, friends pressure, we say, social pressure, we say. But why do I allow others to pressurize me? I need to ask myself, do I truly believe in this? Do I really want to do this? If I don't, nobody can change me. Nobody should be able to change me. At the same time, I don't want to box myself in. I will say, at this moment, this is who I think I am, this is what I want to do. But I keep my mind open, my eyes open to learn from others. But at any given moment of time, you have to be truthful to what you believe, what you speak, and what you do. They have to be in line with each other. And if you can, then you have character. A man of character is a man of integrity. You can't just speak anything and everything and do anything and everything and think anything and everything. Then it's bizarre. We'll get nowhere in life. Then what is the difference between being a Sai devotee and not being a Sai devotee? There is no difference. Just because you do bhajans once a week doesn't make you or give you a different platform in life. Nothing, right? It is when you truly incorporate the teachings of Swami and become integral. One of the greatest things I learned from Swami is watching how integrity played a powerful, powerful role in his personality, in the way he expressed himself. He thought he was divine. He spoke like he was divine. He acted like he was divine. He took up projects which people were terrified to even think about. Free education, opening colleges for women. Now you might say, oh yeah, but he was one of the first to do that. Initiating everyone in the prayer of self-realization, the Gayatri Mantra, irrespective of caste and creed. Who does that? How does one have that freedom from fear? Because integrity. He was in perfect alignment with his thought and with his words, and therefore his deeds begin to reflect that. Your actions always reflect your core beliefs, my dear brothers and sisters. So, please, let us pay attention to integrity. And that is character. And finally, watch your heart. Watch your heart. The same core beliefs that help us with character, those core beliefs also help us with feelings. Swami's favorite thing is bhava. Bhava means feelings. Your intention, your attitude. Reverence is an attitude. Devotion is an attitude. Is that feeling has to be clean and pure. In the sense it should flow freely without any conditioned mindsets, without unnecessary fear of what people will think, or what this one will think, or what that one will think, what will happen to me. Let go. Allow the feelings to flow. Genuine, divine feelings. How do you generate that divine, genuine feelings? When you are able to examine the quality of your core beliefs. My dear brothers, sisters, this was a divine watch Swami gave me many, many, many years ago. He has given that watch to every devotee. You and me had this chance to examine that. Let us use this time of the year, this moment, this particular day that we have devoted to contemplate. We call it the Aradhana day. Aradhana day is a day of worship. What are we worshipping? We are worshipping Him who is not different from His teachings. His life, His message, and He are one and the same. We cannot just simply worship His form and name and behave where we bring about disunity and discord and separation. We have to be united in thought, word, and deed. And that unity will reflect in our words, in our actions. And we bring our families together. We bring communities together. We bring religions together. We bring the world together. Because finally, everything has to merge into oneness. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. Ekoham bahushyam. There is one that is perceived as the many. There is no two. There is only one, and that one is Sai. That one is Shiva. That one is Allah. That one is Brahma. That one is the Christ. That one is Abraham, or the God of Abraham. There is none other. Different names, different forms. So may this divine time in our lives awaken our consciousness to enter into this abode of Sai, which is filled with unity, love, and oneness. Thank you again for this divine opportunity to offer my thoughts as service to the devotees of Sai. I bow to each and every one of you and thank you once again. Jai Sairam.